Being a content creator has its perks, but once you post, there's no undo. I think being a creator is one of the coolest things you can do right now. You get flexibility, you can make really good money, you answer to yourself, so no boss, and that's real. But what I don't hear talked about enough are the downsides. Not in a dramatic way, just in a realistic way. Because every coin has two sides, and pretending it's all positive doesn't actually help anyone. I'm not here to discourage anyone if you want to become a content creator, for sure. I'm just here to share some reality, not fear.
Real voices, bold stories. This is the Lexis Star Show.
This show is presented by King Rilla. Today, I want to talk about 5 things people don't tell you about being a creator. That's privacy, the mental load, moolah, relationships, and judgment. One of the first things you don't really understand until you're living it is how much privacy you lose as a creator. When you put yourself online, your face, your voice, your opinions, you're not just sharing content, you're giving people access. And once that access exists, you don't fully control it anymore. People recognize you in places you didn't expect, aka the gym. They feel like they know you, even if they've never met you. They comment on your life choices, your body, your family, your relationships, and sometimes with love, sometimes without any filter at all. And even if your content is completely innocent, there's this subtle shift where it feels observed, like you're never fully off stage. You can set boundaries, and you absolutely should, but the reality is that privacy becomes something you actively have to protect instead of something you naturally have. And that adjustment can be harder than you think. I enjoy my privacy. I like, when people don't know everything about me, but sometimes being online, that is extremely hard. When it comes to, I'll be out somewhere and I want to take a picture. I'm like, well, wait a second. I'm not going to post this right now because people can know where I am and they might come and talk to me. And not saying that I don't want to talk to fans or anything like that. It's just, I feel like I need to protect my little, environment, which is what I do. So keep that in mind. Another thing people don't talk about enough is the mental load that comes with being a creator. You're not just creating, you're performing consistently. You're managing comments, DMs, algorithms, trends, analytics, and your own self-worth all at the same time. Your work is personal, which means that the feedback that you get feels personal. Sometimes you can get some DMs where it's super positive and you're like, yeah, I'm killing it. This feels awesome. And then other times you get, that not so great DM, which, it does take a toll on your, mental health because you're just like, damn, I thought you people liked me. And clearly, you can't please everybody. That's all I'm saying. Praise can feel incredible and criticism can hit way harder than you expect. Even if you tell yourself not to care. I always say, I don't care what people say, but deep down, you do care a little bit. There's this pressure to always show up and be your best self, even on days when you're tired, overwhelmed, or just not okay. Like, I'm a little overwhelmed today, I'm not gonna lie. But over time, that can blur the line between who you are and who you're expected to be online. Sometimes people don't know the difference. So burnout doesn't always look like exhaustion. Sometimes it looks like numbness or resentment or just losing joy in something you once loved. All right, baby, let's talk about the moolah because that's a big one. Yes, being a creator can be incredibly lucrative. The flexibility, the income potential, the freedom, and that part is real. But what people don't see is how unstable it can be. Algorithms change, the income fluctuates, platforms shift priorities, accounts get limited or flagged. Sometimes a decision completely out of your control could affect your earnings overnight. I get my Instagram shadow banned from time to time, and then that doesn't funnel people to my other sites, which, I could see how my income changes from one month to the other. Although I have been consistent, so there's not that many fluctuations. But if you're starting out, just know that, okay, yes, you could blow up overnight. Absolutely. It's happened to a lot of people, and that's great. Good for you. But that does not mean that next month you're going to make the same amount of money. Okay. So you always got to think a few steps ahead. That can definitely create some kind of stress. So keep that in mind that, everything could be all nice and jolly. And then overnight, you don't see the same consistency all the time. So keep that in mind. It teaches you to be more resourceful, and it can also make it hard for you to ever fully relax, because when you are the brand, the business never really turns off. And that's the thing. Working a 9 to 5 is great. And you're like, oh, but I want to work for myself. But then when you work for yourself, you don't really have any time off. You're constantly go, go, go. Whether it's thinking about creating content, whether it's answering DMs, whether it's when should I post this? Is this trending? Is this not? Should I post this real shit? Your brain just wants to explode. Another thing is how becoming a content creator can change your relationships. Even if you don't expect it, whether it's friends, family, partners, people see you differently. Some are incredibly supportive, and others don't understand what you do, or they'll make assumptions about your lifestyle, your priorities, or even your character. Romantic relationships can be especially complex. Your work is public, your thoughts are public, and not everyone is comfortable with that. So if you get into this and you're single, find someone that's okay with, you doing what you want to do. If you're already with somebody and he's not cool with it, I don't know, dump his ass or dump her ass. So it definitely requires a lot of communication and trust and emotional maturity that unfortunately not everyone is prepared for. If you're watching this right now, I bet you care about how you look, feel, and smell, especially smell. And that's why I am here to talk to you about King Rilla. They make all natural soaps, shampoos, lip balms, and deodorants for men. But I'm not gonna lie, I use them as well. They use organic ingredients that keep you feeling fresh all day long. And trust me, you deserve to treat yourself like a king. So do yourself and your girlfriend a favor by visiting them at kingrilla.com. You won't regret it. Oh, and don't forget to use my promo code LEXISSTAR to get 15% off your order. Even friendships can shift. Some people feel closer to you, others pull away. And you start to realize that not everyone is meant to come with you into every version of your life. That doesn't mean something is wrong. It just means growth has a cost. I've personally lived through that. It is what it is. But you know what? If people don't want to see you succeed, then you don't need them in your life, right? So move on. Move along. Carry on. Another thing that people don't warn you about is the judgment that comes with being a creator, okay? People will have their opinions on almost everything that you do, your content, your personality, your choices, what you wear, how you rest, what you do, where you eat. Sometimes it's constructive. A lot of the times it's not. The more visible you are, the more people feel entitled to comment. Fans might treat you like a friend or like they own a piece of you. Nobody owns nothing. And judgment doesn't always come from the internet. It can come from people that you know, that you love, friends, family, partners, or who you're renting your house from. Right? Because that's, I got judged for what I do. And that's why I unfortunately got kicked out of the place that I was renting, which is fine. I'm not here to say anything. I'm not judging nobody, okay? That's what you learn. That's something else that you learn. You don't judge other people. Do you? And then everything will be just fantastic. Friends, family, partners, people who question your decisions or make assumptions that quietly hurt. It's going to happen. Sometimes I talk to some people and I can see a little bit of I'm not going to say resentment, but you're just like, if you mention something about work, they're just like, okay. When people see you doing great, they don't like that, So that's something else. Like when you see that people start to act different when you're doing good, it's time to let them go. So, You take what is useful and you leave the rest behind, okay? You can't control what people think, but you can control how much power you give it. Being a creator is still one of the coolest things you can do. It's not just freedom and flexibility, it's responsibility, boundaries, emotional work, and resilience. Talking about the full picture doesn't make this path less inspiring. It makes it more sustainable. If you're building something online, you're not weak for feeling the weight of it. You're human, and you're definitely not alone in it. So before you get started, if you're thinking of becoming a content creator, any type of content creator, something that requires your presence online, where your privacy is not so private anymore, where there's the fear of judgment, where there's the money aspect to it, it's a great thing to do, but just remember that it's not all glitz and glamour, and there are going to be some downsides, and that's what this episode was about today. It was to give you guys a little insight to prepare you, because sometimes we really want to dive into something and then it's too late when, we see the downside of the matters. So, that is all for today's episode. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and I will see you next week.